what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Geek-Stew. And today, guys, welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy Theories with Ike. That is right. It is yet again a Friday. Hope you guys are doing wonderful. Friday, it's the weekend. Hope everybody's being safe. Hope everybody's getting out there and enjoying some of this nice summer weather wherever you are. And actually, speaking of everybody out there and wherever they are, I want to give a special thank you to everybody who has been subscribing to the channel. So if you're new to the channel, I really appreciate your patronage, and I really appreciate all the comments and suggestions I've been getting. Some folks have given some pretty good constructive criticism towards different theories. The other day, somebody actually gave a counter theory to one of the theories, which was really interesting to read. And, maybe one day I'll be able to do a whole video talking about different types of comments on the videos and everything else. But for today, we are going to cover another conspiracy theory from the conspiracy theory iceberg that we normally pick off of. Again, I want to give a special thanks to the Redditor Cicada1205 for providing the conspiracy theory iceberg, and truthfully for continuing to provide me with a wealth of knowledge on Reddit, and for everything that they have done, even though they don't know that they've done it. So I'm very, very excited to continue to do this. But anyhow, today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a different of a conspiracy theory, because this one, obviously, it kind of relates to the last one a little bit, not really, kind of, but it's also a little odd, a little off the beaten path. Not a whole lot of evidence to support this, more of just a thought process that kind of turned into a theory, so keep that in mind. But today, we're going to be talking about the Paleolithic deep state. So as we get into this theory, I just want to make a small little statement. I've been trying to drink Perrier. I don't know why. I always think that I should like it, but then I get it and I'm like, I don't know if I actually like this. Like I like it, but I don't. I don't know. Anyways, let me know in the comment section down below if you like Perrier sparkling water. I have the lime ones. I don't know. Maybe some of the other ones are better. But anyhow, as always, before we get into the actual theory itself, we do need to put down a little bit of groundwork and just a little bit of context, so that way we can understand the full gravity, I guess you could say, of the theory itself. I don't know why, but every time I do a conspiracy theory, we always have to do some context. So today is no different, unfortunately. We have to get a little context about the Paleolithic deep state. Specifically, what is a deep state? So if you don't know this already, and some folks probably do, so a deep state is sort of a key point with this whole theory. So to kind of describe in a short way what a deep state is, because there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of other conspiracies that kind of like wave into the concept of a deep state. But specifically, a deep state is a conspiracy theory that suggests that collusion and cronyism exists within the United States political system, and basically constitutes a hidden government. This is to say that some politicians will favor companies or people who they are friends, or people who do them favors. Basically a really large corrupt system that basically is working behind the scenes to run the government as it is. Which, I mean, isn't terribly far-fetched to begin with, unfortunately. So the concept of just a deep state in general is basically that, a deeper state system in which works behind the scenes in that way. So really that's all there is to the concept of a deep state. I mean, again, there's more you could go into that kind of spurs into other theories, but for the case of this, all you need to know is that that's what a deep state is. That's the context you need for this. So now we can actually move on to the theory, which talks more about the Paleolithic side of the phrase Paleolithic deep state. So now, context aside, now we can talk about the theory. So basically, last time we talked about the concept of the caveman genocide, right? That modern, Homo sapiens, we basically caused every other species of human to go extinct for whatever reason. We talked about a lot of different reasons that it could have been, but I know personally I kind of sided with it was most likely just run-of-the-mill issues with resources and land and everything else. Not probably anything to do with prejudice or us being like, oh wow, Neanderthals and these other types of humans are lesser beings, so we need to kill them. I mean, it could have. I mean, I'm not an anthropologist. I don't know all the information regarding that. But here's what we're going to talk about today. So we talked about last time how about like 10,000 years ago, I think it was, Neanderthal is the last race of humans prior to like, Homo sapiens was extinct, right? So a long time ago, basically Homo sapiens were the last human species left on Earth. And it's been that way for a very long time, right? Basically, not really. So the Paleolithic deep state says that basically Neanderthals actually survived to our current times and have been pulling the strings for a long time behind the scenes. So a lot of people when they researched like the biology of like Neanderthals, and I guess it would fall under anthropology, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Again, if I'm offending any ologies out there, I'm very sorry. But the point being is that with Neanderthals, there's a very common theory that existed that said that Neanderthals had bigger brains than us. They are generally more creative and intelligent than us in some ways. And so this theory kind of goes off of that, saying that how could a intelligent, creative, big brain species go extinct due to any reason other than purposefully going behind the scenes, maybe. So basically the theory says that these Neanderthals, these Paleolithic entities, are pulling the strings behind the scenes and are basically creating this form of the deep state, right? And they are also probably going under our radar. We don't know who's a Neanderthal, who isn't. The presumption here is that these people exist and we just don't know about it, right? Well, at least we didn't know about it until I started talking about it just now. So basically, I mean, if I had to put like a TLDR on this, too long didn't read. Long story short, the Neanderthals survived somehow, some way. They created this concept of a deep state where, well, maybe not the concept of a deep state, but they're basically behind the scenes, pulling the strings, doing everything that they need to do to put the right people in power who do what they want to basically push forward their agenda, right? Sort of like the Illuminati, but I guess rather than devil worshippers, they're just Neanderthals. So there's not a whole lot of data to support this theory per se. Obviously, it's a lot of conjecture and theory that goes into this specific theory. Some of the other stuff that we talk about really connects to other larger ideas. When we talked about the prenatal quantum nightmare, that kind of connects to the concept of string theory. When we talked about the caveman genocide, is an actual legitimate fact that, to our knowledge, most other human species that we know of, other than Homo sapiens, went extinct at the latest 10,000 plus years ago. So that has sort of a bearing in real life. Even some of the other theories have bearings in different ideologies and religions, things like God's last wish and God's ego death and the final understanding. The final understanding obviously is a little bit more obscure, but it does still have bearing in real life to some extent. But this theory obviously has a lot of guessing to go involved. First of all, we have to run under the assumption that A, the Neanderthals did not go extinct, and B, that the Neanderthals were so advanced and so intelligent that they would have the comprehensive ability to create this like behind the scenes, pulling the strings, and basically manipulating the Homo sapiens. So there's a lot that kind of goes into this that we sort of just have to like believe in, right? We just have to kind of believe that our fossil records are wrong. We have to kind of believe that, maybe the Neanderthals created the myth that the Neanderthals went extinct, So there's a lot that could go into that could, I guess, pull itself into reality. But really, there's not a whole lot of physical standing for something like the Paleolithic deep state because we have no proof of this. Even things like the Illuminati or just the general concept of the deep state can, to an extent, be not proven per se, but it can start a conversation, right? The Illuminati isn't an unknown entity. There are different clubs like the Hellfire Club and like the Freemasons. Obviously, that's a little bit different, but and I'm not dissing anybody who's a Freemason, let me make that clear. But there are a lot of people who put those, two entities together and they sort of say, oh, hey, 1 + 1 = 2, and they start making connections where there might not be any connections. So that is kind of what I'm saying, is that every other theory that I've talked about, at least up to now, has some sort of bearing in some real life entity, right? Whereas this one doesn't. And that's one of the bad things about theories like this, is that pretty much I'm done talking about the theory because there's not much else to talk about. There's no science, there's no history, there's really nothing. Basically, it's just saying that there's a deep state, somebody's pulling the strings behind the scenes, and rather than that somebody being the rich, the elite, oil companies, or different industries, and rather than it being one of those entities, in this case, it's specifically the Neanderthals. Why are they pulling the strings? We don't know. Maybe this does reach back to caveman genocide, which is actually what I'm going to talk about next, is maybe sort of a mixture of a couple of theories that could possibly draw us a little bit farther down the hole a little bit. So I guess we're going to move on to final thoughts, and I'm going to sort of give you my take on this, combining it with the concept of the caveman genocide. So to rewind just a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about last week with my final thoughts. We talked about the caveman genocide. Basically, the long and short of the caveman genocide is that cavemen and other forms of primitive humans or primitive humans were caused to go extinct by the Homo sapiens. That basically we, the Homo sapiens, the modern human, basically just said, yeah, we just caused them to go extinct. For some reason, we caused them to go extinct. So that being said, what I'm going to basically do is formulate a little bit more of a deeper theory. So you and I both know that Neanderthals went extinct about 10,000 years ago, right? But instead of them going extinct, and the reason that they were going to go extinct was because the Neanderthals were being hunted by Homo sapiens. Human beings like yourself and me were prejudiced against these other species of humans. So I guess my theory, or my what I'm going to try and posture as a theory, is that rather than just this Paleolithic deep state existing for no reason, basically with the caveman genocide concept, we caused all these other species of humans to go extinct, and we essentially tried to do the same thing with the Neanderthals. Now the Neanderthals, as we know, obviously there's probably some biology or something that goes into this that I don't know about. Maybe having a bigger brain doesn't mean that they're necessarily smarter. It could just be that their brains are bigger. But basically the Neanderthals were, to some degree, at least somewhat more intellectual than we are. Maybe they had thoughts about the long game, and they basically were like, oh, maybe we can basically do a little extra. So my thought process is we try to cause them all to go extinct, but rather than causing the total extinction of all other humankinds, the Neanderthals found a way to survive and subsist in the background, right? They found a way to exist without us knowing, and they found a way to basically just be there, right? And they did it because we were hunting them. We were trying to cause them to go extinct for whatever reason. And so to kind of connect it back to the caveman genocide, this would have to basically pull on the concept that we did something to the Neanderthals to cause them to go extinct. And not necessarily that they want revenge on us, but they want to continue to exist, so they're existing behind the scenes. And so in that case, they then continue to exist behind the scenes, and then so on and so forth. That basically is the substance of the theory, is that they exist behind the scenes because of something like the caveman genocide, or maybe some other extinction level event that happened with their colonies. So what they did was they basically wanted to try and hide behind the scenes, because they didn't want other people to know they exist, because possibly knowing that they exist could cause issues like that. So essentially, long and short of it, they exist behind the scenes because of some extinction level event, and now they run the deep state. But basically, I guess that's really my only theory of a theory that I could come up with that could kind of make that make sense without it just being that, yeah, they're just there. Basically, that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about today. I'm not going to continue to drill on that. Obviously, there's a lot that could go into that. There's a lot of other information that could be plugged into that to make it make sense in a way. But if anybody else has any theories to add on to that, I think that the concept of the Paleolithic deep state is obviously interesting, or else I wouldn't be talking about it today, I suppose. But even though it's interesting, doesn't necessarily mean that it's realistic, and I don't really think that the theory as it is super realistic. I think when you combine it with sort of my interpretation of the caveman genocide, I think that it makes a little bit more sense that they'd want to exist in the background, especially if someone is, if there is an entity such as the Homo sapiens that exists with the sole purpose of, we don't like the Neanderthals, so we want them to go extinct. So having that kind of an entity exist definitely puts into question whether or not this could be real. So obviously, take that for what you will. Obviously, this is all just a theory. This is all conspiracy. Obviously, I'd recommend you look into this Paleolithic deep state. You might not find a whole lot of information about the Paleolithic deep state itself outside of Reddit, but the deep state itself is a very large, wild conspiracy theory that expands into a lot of different facets of our government. And so that's definitely something that has a lot of information behind it, at least a lot of information that people think are, evidence of the theory. But yeah. So that's pretty much it for today. I want to give another special thanks to Cicada1205 as always, because I'm going to say it a million times. This is such a great conspiracy theory iceberg. I love that it exists, and I love that it's on the internet and for people to see. And it's always great to have these conversations about the conspiracy theories and try and make sense of them. And I'm trying to basically put my own twist on them when I can, because obviously in this case, this theory doesn't have a whole lot of substance to it. So putting some additional information and feedback into it the way that I am hopefully makes it a little more substantial for folks to kind of understand where it might be coming from. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let me know if you guys agree with this theory, if you think it's possible, or if you think it's just all bullshit. I'm kind of thinking the latter, but I mean, it is what it is. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave us a comment down below. If you want to join the Geek-Stew crew, let us know. Hit us up on social media. That is linked below and at the end of the video. Or if you'd like, you can put your handle in the comments and we'll try and reach out to you if you'd like. But yeah, so I really want to emphasize that we're looking to expand our product, looking for more people to make more content. Geek-Stew is a collaborative and everything else. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed. Again, stay safe, stay happy, stay awesome, and we will see you in the next one. See ya.